particularly as a jungler when you're playing those hyper carry junglers like Elise, Kayn, Rengar, Master Yi, you always are in this 1v9 mindset. And it's sometimes hard to get out of that. And sometimes junglers, particularly around gold, silver, and platinum, they go too hard into that mindset because they see like Karasmai, Dante's, all these one tricks who are kind of very aggressive players. They always seem to 1v9 with their clips. But in today's profile review, I'm going to be live talking to a Kayn one trick and basically breaking down how he needs to shift his ego, his mindset, and the way he thinks about jungle as a Kayn one trick while still being able to give himself enough of that carry potential mentality, but also understand that it is a team game at the end of the day and it is very hard to 1v9 every game to climb to your goal ranks. Now, before we get into this profile review, if you're interested in getting yours reviewed just like the one you're about to watch, please check out the links in the description below. Let's get into the video.
Not lately, just like ever since I started playing ranked, I've been really only playing Kayn mainly in ranked. But like when he gets banned, because he gets banned a lot, I sometimes play Nocturne or Master Yi. So yeah, my goal is probably just trying to hit Diamond for now, and yeah. But I just like recently a lot of these games, I feel like in gold, especially people have been starting to like just their mentality is just so weak that they decide to int every time something goes wrong and like they leave the game and stuff. Like it's been happening silver a lot, but I was able to manage it with like I still had like a 67% win rate in silver, but like as soon as I hit gold, this thing just started going down. My win rate just started dropping, man. It just I don't know what I can do about that. So
Yeah. And to be honest, I don't think it's like it's all of a sudden thing. It's probably just an unlucky streak, or you've just started to notice it a lot more, because it doesn't usually work like that. Like you just all of a sudden go from silver to gold. I know a lot of people say it like once you go to the next rank, like plat to diamond, diamond to master. Like sometimes there's this like, you know, troll aspect where everyone thinks just the mental goes down or people throw games more. But I would put it more likely down to just as probably a series of unlucky games, or you've just been focusing on it a bit too much. Because, yeah, I think it's either that or it is true, but I guess everyone has to deal with it, and you can either climb through it or you can't. I know that's kind of harsh, but it's almost just a state of the game, or it's a reality of the game, which kind of sucks, but it's just what we have to deal with.
So like is your coaching like just do you do like live coaching? Like would you be able to give feedback while I'm in a game, or like do you usually look at videos and replays and stuff?
Yeah, so we do all kinds of coaching. So we do live coaching, we do VOD reviews. We also do like, let's say you had a bad, like you're really bad with your first 15 minutes of the game. We could watch, you know, multiple games of that and review it.
Okay, so is it possible if I just like play a game right now and stream it and see like would you able to like point out some of the stuff I might be doing wrong or need to improve on?
So we don't do that for free. The profile review, so like this call is free itself, but actual game advice, in-game advice isn't free. We do charge for that. But these calls are basically for you to, you know, if you are interested. Yeah, basically.
Alright.
And it's more about strategy and stuff, and then, you know, seeing if coaching's even right for you, because maybe you don't actually need it. Maybe you just need to get your strategy a bit fixed up or whatever.
Okay, so I also have like a question about the runes. So I'm working with just like 2 sets of runes right now on Kayn, just Conquer and First Strike. Just like whenever I go red, I just go Conquer and Domination, and then whenever I go blue, I just go First Strike and Domination. Just like, is it really necessary for me to like change up runes and adapt to the enemy team comp every game, or is that fun as well? Just having 2 sets of runes for 2 different Kayns.
First Strike's a bit of a weird one, because I know it feels good, but it can be a bit of a bait sometimes, because it really doesn't become effective until like mid to late game, and usually the game is kind of already over by then, or can be quite over. So on Blue Kayn, I don't know what like Karasmai and stuff are going at the moment. Maybe they are going first strike, but I've been seeing a lot of diamond Kayns and stuff going like electrocute at the moment, just so they have that bigger early game power spike. Because the assassin Kayn, your electrocute's basically going to do more damage than your first strike for the first probably 25 minutes of the game. And I tend to think that that's where blue Kayn thrives the most. And so I would rather, in my opinion, I'd rather a Kayn stack his early game to have a little bit of a mid to late game trade-off, but you're able to do what blue Kayn does best, which is like terrorize the rift in that early mid game section.
So wait, is first strike? I thought first strike is like just 8% of your total damage within like the first 2 seconds.
Yeah, it is. It is, but it's not as good as electrocute. If you look at the damage first strike does after a trade, it's generally like 30, 40, 50 extra damage. It's not actually that much. And over a game, you'll generally find that electrocute will do more damage overall in 25 minutes compared to first strike.
Okay, also for jungle pad things,
Yep.
so in low elo, I feel like full clearing usually works, just like because Kane's able to clear really fast and farm and get ahead of everyone, but you like the gank opportunities are just like it's just I feel like it's just a dice roll every time. Like sometimes you're there when there's a good opportunity when someone's pushed up, but sometimes like you have to just kind of let your laner die because you're too far away and stuff. So do you recommend in low elo? Do you think it's better to just full clear and farm, or maybe do a path that's more gank oriented?
Um, I'm always of the opinion ganks are a jungler's best friend. I think like you can never gank too much. So I feel like if you're asking the question, should I farm more or should I gank more? It's probably I should gank more. I also think that's, part of Kane's strength is the more you gank, the faster you get your form, plus the more you have influence over the game. But coming back to that question of like, it feels like it's hard to gank or you're not there at the right time. What I'd suggest doing is start doing jungle clears that are like have hypotheses behind them. So like when you do your first clear, don't just brain dead start red buff because you're getting a bot lane leash or blue buff because you're getting a bot lane leash. Actually think about, okay, what lane do I want to gank first? Oh, cool. So top lane, it's Irelia versus Maokai. I've got the Irelia. So I probably want to path bot to top because I need to get the Irelia ahead. Otherwise, Maokai's just going to tank up and eventually outscale her. Or, if you're bot lane, you've got, I don't know, like a Draven Nami or something, and you're versing a Cog Lulu. It's like, okay, shit, I've got a path top to bot here, or maybe a full bot quadrant clear, because I need to gank bot lane as soon as possible to try and get them ahead. So that's how I probably shift your mindset of, am I full clearing? Am I clearing to gank? And that will also set you up with logical gank options where it's like, okay, I want to gank this lane, and then you look at the lane state and go, okay, it's getting pushed in. This is a perfect gank opportunity. Or, oh shit, they've pushed into turret. I could maybe try and do a counter gank here, but I know the enemy jungler's top side, so I'm just going to go try and gank mid. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, but like, if you're not like that knowledgeable at the game and you don't really know what scales and stuff, is that like something just you learn through playing the game, or is it more like a research-based thing?
I think it's like a test and learn thing. So, like, you should know that a Draven beats Cog in lane, like in bot lane, right? Or you don't know those kind of concepts.
Well, I know some of them, like mid lane, top lane mostly. I don't play
Okay.
bot that much. I usually only play jungle lane rank. That's why. I sometimes play mid. So, yeah, bot lane stuff I'm not that aware. I just know, yeah, some basic stuff.
Yeah, so usually like bot lanes, you've got your hyperscalers like Jinx, Cog,
Yeah. I know.
yeah, and then you've got your early game champs like Draven, Lucian, some others. I can't think of them at the moment. So it's like, and again, you could be like, well, I've got the Jinx hyperscaler, so if I get her ahead, then our future's set. We're going to win late game, which is important. So you could also have the exact same methodology for late game champs.
Well,
But it's more just
like
about actively thinking and having a a theory of who you want to gank and why. That's what I'm more trying to focus on. Whether you actually make the right call or not isn't so important yet, because you need to learn this concept. It's more about you at the, during champion select or as you're clearing, you actually using your F keys to go through your champions and go, oh shit, my top lane's getting pushed in. Let's try and rotate there. Or, okay, my bot lane is setting up for a gank or needs assistance. Okay, I'm going to alter my jungle path to get to bot lane.
Okay, so is there any way, like, you think jungle, or at least on Kayn, to play more of the carry role instead of playing, like, supporting other people? Because there's really just, I feel like some people that just are kind of incapable of doing their jobs. Even if they get ahead, like, somehow late game they start overextending because they're confident. Early on they get to kill people, but then later on when people start to roam and stuff, they just kind of just fall off and give away their lead.
Yeah.
And then in return that kind of also screws over the team.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
Any advice on carrying?
For sure, I think if you're playing a jungler like Kayn, you need to take resources. Obviously, don't like flash for kills and shit and like visibly troll your team to get the kill. But when I say like gank bot because you've got a hyperscaler, it's more like you should be thinking about junglers. Yes, I'm the carry, but I also need my teammates to potentially get resources and get ahead as well. Because if you're trying to carry with 3 losing lanes, well, you've just made your game so hard for yourself. Whereas you could be the carry with 3 winning lanes if you gank correctly. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying you have to gank a lane and give them the kills. I'm saying you have to gank a lane to get them ahead and you ahead at the same time. That's the purpose of a gank. It's not just to get you ahead. Because that's a bit of a dangerous mindset, I think. Because it just gives you a bit of an ego and it makes you think it's you versus the world, which is okay to an extent. But then you start, like, just thinking it's all you, and then whenever you lose a game, it's like, oh, it can't possibly be my fault. I was trying to carry the game. It must be my bot lane who I didn't gank, and they lost lane, so I'm going to blame them. And, like, maybe they were shit, right? But it creates this very dangerous ego where you'll never actually be able to self-criticize, because you'll always be thinking, I'm the carry, they didn't get me ahead, or I couldn't get myself ahead because my laners didn't help me, XYZ. Rather than, it is a team game and the meta has shifted from, you just can't 1v9 anymore. I know people talk about it and you see video clips on YouTube, but 90% of the time they're either smurfing or it's just their one game out of like 40 games where they actually carry, which happens. But if you actually watch like Charisma, he does do consistently pretty well. But his 1v9 games are really, 1 in 15, 1 in 20 games. So just make sure you're not getting too into that mindset, but also solo queue, you've got to rely on yourself. Like, you can't really trust anyone else because every single game you get into, it's going to be a whole new team. So the mindset's good just to an extent.
Yeah, honestly, in my past games, I've kind of just been doing what you were saying, like, I just try to get myself fed and try to like take over games.
Yeah.
And yeah, when my other teammates lose, I'm just kind of pissed off because I'm the only one on the team who's doing good and just fully lost the game because everyone on the other team is fed and like I'm the only person who's kind of ahead on my team.
Yeah. A good way to look at it is like, if you gang top lane right and you get the kill and then you take their farm as well, your top laner doesn't actually get ahead from that. They lose XP, they don't get the kill. And then they're forced basically to reset because now their enemies... Like, it doesn't actually get people ahead, right? So you've got to think about if you gank a lane, but you're taking the kills, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win the lane. They might have a slightly higher percentage chance, but sometimes it can actually be a disadvantage to get ganked.
So do you think, what would you do after that then? Do you keep returning to top and help them win, or what would you do after that?
There's no black and white theory, and you'll watch Karasmai, for example, he just adapts who he's ganking to based on what he wants to do and what's on the map. So he'll realize, dragon spawning in 60 seconds. Okay, I need at least mid or bot prio. So I'm going to try and gank mid and bot in the next 60 seconds so that we can secure dragon. Now, he won't say that on stream, but if you watch, 60 seconds before an objective spawns, you'll notice that he'll try and set it up. Or other junglers like Yankos, Tarzan, like any of those kind of streamer junglers, you'll notice that they set up, around objectives usually with their ganks or to just get priority for certain
Yeah,
actions.
so for first objectives, I usually I have this, I don't know if it's bad habit or not, but I tend to skip the first objective and just try to farm up uh more ahead of the other junglers so later on I can fight them. 'Cause I don't know why, just I feel like going out my way for a dragon that is possibly might not work out, just it might be a huge waste of time and that might put me behind. So do you think it's ever bad just to skip drag, maybe give up first drag to gamble it, and stay more ahead of the enemy team so you can win later on objective fights?
Yes and no. If you're defining what means ahead, you would basically need to get 2 kills in the time your enemy team takes dragon to make that an even trade. Dragons are one of the most busted jungle win conditions in the game at the moment, and then Rift Herald is a guaranteed 2 plates, which again is a guaranteed kill. Because 2 plates equals a kill. And so you really got to think about it okay, if the enemy's taking dragon, how you should be thinking about it is okay, can I take rift? Or, okay, can I gank my top laner and get 3 plates or 2 plates? Does that make sense? So rather than be oh, my enemy's taking dragon, I'm going to full clear. That's useless. You're actually putting yourself and your team behind. Whereas if you're okay, the enemy's taking dragon, I'm going to go top, kill the top laner, take 2 plates, then clear the enemy's quadrant, and then gank top as he TPs back in again. Well, that would be an even trade. But you see how much harder that is compared to just taking the dragon? Your enemy jungler just has to go up and auto-attack a dragon, whereas you have to orchestrate this kind of gank route that might not work. So I think it's viable if that option's on and clearly you can't take dragon. But what I'd suggest is you should start looking to gank and jungle based on objective timers. So if you know dragon spawning, you should be okay, what do I need to do to get this dragon? I can't solo it because that's a coin flip. We try and avoid coin flips unless you know the enemy jungler is at top lane, right? Or is doing Rift Herald. You've got visual confirmation that they're doing that, then you could solo dragon as an example. But generally you want to get mid or bot lane prio because then they can rotate. They might not because it's solo queue, right? Sometimes you get priority for a team and then they don't rotate and then you die at dragon. But generally if you get priority, they should rotate and then you should be able to get the dragon. And same for top.
How about when you're behind though? If you just have no opportunity for objectives, or even if it's late game, you guys are just down a dragon, objectives aren't even up, you guys are just behind. Do you think it's more effective to farm when you're behind, or do you think going for more ganks and hopefully trying to get the shutdowns is a better idea?
Yeah, again, there's no theory. Generally, I'd always say trade. So if you watch pro play, they're always trading. So even the enemy team that's behind, they'll trade. So if they know the enemy team is ahead by 5k gold, they'll be okay, we're going to give dragon, but we're going to take tier 2 mid lane for it. Because you trade, so it's and again, it's solo queue, right? So your team might not want to trade with you or they might not understand that concept. But what you should do is you should try and trade something, no matter how small. Even if it's just taking the enemy jungle's red buff for dragon, because that's all you can do. But basically in the early game before Baron spawns, if the enemy team takes dragon, chances are 80% of the time you can just take Rift Herald. And so that's how I'd be thinking about early game objectives. If you are going to give up a dragon or if you are going to give up a Rift Herald, take the other objective. Because it's guaranteed that they're going to be on the other side of the map, which means you have a safe objective to take. And that's how you can kind of get back in the game, because if the enemy's team's ahead and they decide to take Rift, you should go, oh fuck, we're behind, but now we have an opportunity to take Dragon. That's awesome. And then take the drag.
So drag always over Rift, right? Just a chance.
I would say drag over Rift at the moment because bot lane is the meta. If you get bot lane ahead, you win more games. And it's more effective, you're ganking a lane with 4 people on the map. So it's like when you get there, that's 50% of the map is all bot lane. So if you win that 50% engagement, well, you've just gotten 3 of your 5 teammates ahead in 30 seconds. Compared to if you go top lane, oh, you got 2 people ahead, right? So it's just, I guess, more bang for your buck or more efficient. But yeah, I think with the meta right now, dragon buffs are permanent, which is really important because they last the whole game. Whereas Rift Herald, you just get 300 gold and then you kind of don't notice it after that injection. And just because
Yeah,
bot lane's meta. Yeah.
so yeah, I feel like also jungle is just playing a lot of it is honestly really tiring as well because I have to plan out a bunch of stuff. So I've also been picking up mid as well. Yeah, all I know right now is basically like just freezing when you're ahead and like just try to make the other lane of Lucius slow pushing or shoving and roaming. But like other than that, I really don't know what to do as mid on Yone at least.
Yeah.
Cause yeah, I just that's like the basics of everything I know. I'm just wondering like if there's anything else I'm missing.
So that's perfect. And then think about you as a mid laner compared to when you're jungling and think, what would I want my mid laner to do? So start thinking. This is the beauty of when you learn new roles is you can understand the thought process behind that role. So when you're a jungler, ideally I recommend junglers to try every role because then they can figure out, oh fuck, when do I really want my jungler to come? And you start understanding, oh shit, my top laner probably really wants me to come right now. He's been frozen for 2 minutes. And he just can't get any CS. And it's like, fuck, if I was that top laner, I'd be killing myself. Okay, I'm going to try and, unfreeze that. I might not get a gank off, but I'm just unfreeze it. And that's what I'd suggest you do for mid lane. So if you're like, those are the basic concepts you need to know for mid lane, by the way, what you just said. But the next step is going, okay, what does my jungler want me to do? Oh, cool, he's bot side. Oh, it looks like he might be going for a gank bot lane in 30 seconds or so. Okay, I'm going to try and get priority and then roam with him. And instead of him just ganking, I'm going to go gank with him as well. Or, oh shit, he's ping dragon. Okay, cool. I'm going to push my wave out. I'm going to break this freeze and I'm going to rotate to go help him take drag. Because you're thinking like a jungler, but you're a mid laner.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Interesting. How about okay? I'm actually just kind of curious about the other roles now. How about ADC? What do you think the main objective other than farming up and trying to not get too behind, and just scaling to wait until you like can carry the game for ADCs? Like, is there anything other than that?
Um, mainly like AD carries generally love ganks, so if they get a gank from like mid lane, ganking bot lane is a godsend. Like if you're a bot laner and your mid laner comes and ganks you, like
Yeah.
it's amazing because you're like, holy fuck, I've got my jungler ganking me and my mid laner. And because bot lane is generally again the meta at the moment, and like I know you're in gold, but like so the meta isn't as true or as
Yeah.
consistent because it's like, oh fuck, my Pantheon just took over the game and he was a top laner and my bot lane was useless. That shit will still happen.
Yeah.
But like when you're looking at a game black and white and you don't have any understanding of skill levels, personalities, or where the game's going, the theory is bot lane is is the win con.
Yeah.
So bot laners would just again like if you're playing mid lane, they'd love a gank or they'd love you to get prio for dragons and stuff like that. They'd also love for you to ping when your enemy mid lane is missing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also think like warding for bot lane is important as a mid laner. So ward generally like the jungler's raptors. Like think about where you would hate to be warded as a jungler and ward as a mid laner there. So raptors is a really good ward for mid lane because you can basically tell yourself, bot lane and top lane, where the enemy jungler is going to path based on where they go after raptors. So thinking like that is a good way to
Yeah.
do it.
Makes a lot of sense.
Um,
Yeah, I think that's mostly my question. So if I do want ever just a coaching session live in a game or for you to review a VOD or something, is it also just on that website that I went to?
yeah, I can send you the booking link. So we've got a variety of coaches. So we've got coaches starting at 30 a session.
Uh-huh.
And then myself and my challenger coach, we charge 50. So we're a bit more expensive and not within everyone's price range. So we do also have the cheaper option. And the only difference is rank and experience. So our
Have you had a
30...
challenger before?
Sorry?
Oh, you've been challenger
Nah,
before?
nah. I'm just
Oh,
masters, but I play Phil.
oh,
So
okay.
that's why I was like, do you have jungle? Like, I know all roles because
Yeah,
I
I know
just play
everything
Phil.
kind of. Yeah.
But no, my challenger coach is challenger, and I just charge 50 because I'm just busy. It's like it's
Yeah,
supply and
yeah,
demand basically.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I can send you. Yeah, well, if you are you more inclining towards the 30, or do you want the challenger coach kind of insights, or what are you thinking
Can
about?
I just see both for now? I haven't really made up my mind yet, so
Yeah, for sure. I'll send you all the
yeah.
links.